What's good, everybody? This episode of the podcast is sponsored by DistroKid. They are the go-to for digital music distribution and the easiest way for musicians to get their music onto Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, TikTok, YouTube, and more. They offer unlimited uploads, and artists keep 100% of their earnings, getting your music onto platforms and into stores 10 to 20 times faster than any other distributor. They help with cover song clearance, automatic splits, and they offer all kinds of tools and templates to help you get the most visibility for your releases. I dig this company and appreciate their business model that offers more features and tools than any other distributor while doing it at the most affordable price for solo artists, bands, DJs, studio artists, and any other creators that are making music or producing music in their home, and they offer label services as well. They've got 3 different tiers that they offer to creators that start as low as $22.99 a year. That's just $1.92 a month. And even their top tier is only $7.50 per month. And the best part about DistroKid sponsoring the podcast is they are offering Dan Cable Presents listeners 30% off their first year of service with DistroKid, making their affordable prices even cheaper for you. I will put that discount link in the episode notes. It will also be in my Instagram bio. Big shout out to DistroKid for sponsoring this podcast for more than 3 years now. Much appreciated. Now let's get into the episode.
Look down at the
What is happening, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Dan Cable Presents podcast. Thank you for tuning in to the program once again. If this is your first time listening, thanks for checking out the show. You can find fresh episodes coming at you on Tuesdays. And if you want to help support this thing in a free way, you can do so by clicking subscribe on iTunes, clicking write a review, giving the podcast 5 stars if you feel like it is deserving of so. And that will help propel this thing into the tops of those iTunes charts, giving it more visibility on the national and international levels. Just a great way to help contribute to the growth and sustainability of this thing. Appreciate the hell out of all the folks that have already taken the time to do so. If you're not listening on Apple, just hit like, follow, subscribe wherever you are listening from. If you're watching on YouTube, but please tell a friend about the podcast if you're enjoying it. That's always a sweet way to put people onto things as well. Happy New Year, everybody. 2026. We're here. We've made it. Hope it's off to a good start. I know we're just a few days in, but feeling good thus far, and feeling good about kicking the new year off with episode 462 this week on the podcast. Small Skies, aka Benjamin Tyler, is on the show. I met Ben like 10 years ago when he was playing in a band called Gold Casio here in Portland. He's an incredible drummer, and he's been making music under the name Small Skies for about 10 years now. Lots of music to check out if you're new to the project. It all lives sort of in the electronic world. I would say some of it leans more synth pop at times and can remind me of bands like Tycho. But Ben hit me up recently to let me know that he was putting out a new EP that is more ambient focused, and I was super into it. I just really have been enjoying listening to it as music for meditation, or just has this great calming effect to it. It's nice to have on in the background while I'm doing work, or just beautiful music to sip coffee to in the morning. And it's called Slow Down Songs. The opening track is available wherever you stream music, and the full EP drops in just a few weeks, January 22nd. So great to chat with Ben and get to know his backstory with music, and his time spent going to school for music, and how that is now informed his style and approach to teaching music himself, and also just what an outlet making electronic music was for him while he was going to school, but then specifically diving in to this new EP and how healing and important it has been for his mental health at this time of his life, and the process of making this music and really just being patient with it and kind of slowing things down. So I learned a lot about his journey with music through this chat, which was really great, and I just enjoyed our hang. Ben also plays drums in one of my all-time favorite Portland bands called Small Million, who are so killer and just some wonderful folks that make up that band. But I'll put all the links in the episode notes so you can keep up with Ben and his Small Skies project. He's got an album release show going on January 23rd at the Swan Dive here in Portland with Aqua Celestia and Star Over Blue, who was a recent guest on the podcast like a month or two ago. So that should be a killer show. And with all that, we are going to get into episode 462 with Small Skies, kicking off the episode with one of my favorite tracks from that new Slow Down Songs EP. It's called Taos Hum. It's not out yet, but this is a little tease of it. So if you enjoy it, you'll have something to look forward to on January 22nd when that whole EP drops. But this is it. Let's do the damn thing. Feeling good?
Yeah, man. Feeling great.
Ready to...
Loving the vibes. Let's do it.
We're going to do it?
Let's
Hell
go.
yeah. Stoked to have you, Ben.
Thanks.
Yeah, I've been diving deep back into the Small Skies catalog of music. I was running the whole gamut, you know?
Yeah, it is a gamut, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I kind of jump around. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It all seems to like exist like in this electronic world.
Yeah. I feel like that was the thing I always wanted to use to bind it together. Because it started when I was in jazz school and I was gigging all the time, just like as a drummer.
Yeah.
And it was starting to get really soul-sucking, and nobody wanted to just jam.
Yeah.
And like just play music.
Yeah.
It was all about gigs, which is understandable because we all got to make money.
Yeah.
But I was also kind of starting to not like playing music, which is a weird feeling. Like just like, oh man, I have a gig. Damn it.
That's like such a big part of the jazz world, I feel like, too, is like gigging is kind of the thing. I mean, people obviously like they make records, but like, you know, the live show is kind of where everything seems to happen.
There's that magic improvisational stew that I think really, to truly understand it, you got to see it live.
Yeah.
I love a great jazz album, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, gigging is such a huge part of it. And I love jazz. I love playing jazz. I love everything I've learned from learning about jazz. But it was just like, for me at that time, because I was going to school in Phoenix, and I think that too is just very much like, not only was it gigs, but the gigs were like not great. You know, and for me, like it could have just been the gigs that I was getting.
Yeah,
were not that great. So I was like, does anybody just want to like get together and just play for fun?
Yeah.
And I was having a hard time getting anybody to do that. And so I remembered a friend of mine growing up in Albuquerque back in the 90s, he was making beats just alone.
Yeah.
Like really cool kind of hip hop / electronic weird beats. And I was like, I'll hit him up because, I just want to make music for fun again.
Yeah.
And so he taught me about like how to make beats, what a synthesizer is, because I didn't even really know.
Okay.
I'd never even seen a synthesizer.
I mean, especially in the 90s.
Yeah.
That wasn't like a time where there was, I feel like that was as prevalent, or like, even home recording. Like we didn't really have even like something simple like GarageBand.
Yeah.
There was maybe like a few people that I met in the early 2000s that were fucking around with Fruity Loops.
Yeah, he taught he was using Reason.
Okay.
Which that was the first thing I started with, and it was a steep learning curve. I had no idea what I was doing. And you're right, like I hit him up like maybe 2003-ish or so. And he'd been making beats since we were in high school in the 90s and stuff. Not to date myself too hard, but like, and it was always really, really cool. And so he taught me about that. And then that's kind of how I got into that, like using electronic music to kind of like tie other stuff that I was into together.
So you're already doing that type of stuff like in high school? You got interested or like
college really.
Okay.
It was really kind of like a response to jazz school for me, because I felt, again, just for me, that like just a school setting was kind of stifling a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I was learning so much and it was amazing, but at the same time, it was this weird kind of strict quality to it.
Yeah.
That was good for me in one sense, because I was kind of lazy and scatterbrained, and it was good to just have people be like, no, it's not good enough. You need to do it again.
Yeah.
And to learn that, you're pretty good, but you need to practice more.
Yeah.
Like a lot more. I mean, like, look at these people.
Yeah.
You're not on their level. And I was just like, oh, it was the first time I like really realized how big the world of music actually is, and like how there are people who are just otherworldly good. So that was great.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, it was just this kind of thing where it was kind of a conservatory thing. So it was, you either played jazz or played classical music.
Okay.
And that was it. And I grew up in high school. I was in like a ska punk band.
Hell yeah.
Called Damaged Goods.
And you said this is Albuquerque?
Albuquerque, yeah.
Okay.
Albuquerque kind of weirdly had like was right when that ska thing was happening in the 90s, for better or worse.
Yeah.
And we were right there to ride it. But it was actually cool because like my band director in high school, he was in this really cool ska band. And so it was like a pretty cool scene. But I just remember how much fun it was. Like that's the thing about ska. Because I at first was like, ska seems kind of silly.
Oh, but it also seems like some of the most fun music to play.
It is so fun. It is super, super fun.
It doesn't take itself too seriously.
No. And like, and yeah, we were a bunch of dorks that just got together and would play like cheesy ska punk, but it was super, super fun.
Yeah.
And so I was just trying to find that again, because to me, and it's funny because I've always had this kind of love-hate, on-again, off-again kind of relationship with academia, because I had such a hard time as a student, but like now I'm a professor and a teacher. But I think in a way it kind of helps, because I try and like not do the stuff that I hated professors doing. Like, my opinion is artistic fact. So you have to basically just make music that I like to pass this class type of thing. or it's not even so much about like doing your thing. It's about figuring out what I like as the person who's gatekeeping you in this class, and then doing that thing and just mimicking me, or kissing my ass or whatever it is. And so like I think that kind of helped me in that I like to just let students do their thing.
Yeah, you're trying to avoid them falling into that trap of just like trying to please you with whatever they're doing.
Yeah, in fact, I like when they push me.
Yeah.
I like, and I tell them, I'm like, if I get something wrong for the class, let me know, you know, like, and for me, because I don't want to be up here like professing wrong. Like, and so I've learned a lot too. We're just like, what is good music, like, and finding that difference between opinion and some kind of artistic truth or fact or anything like that.
So you're teaching music?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I teach music at PCC.
All right.
And the program there is like kind of going through some weirdness now. I have no idea what's going to happen, but it's been awesome. And I love teaching classes there. I also teach lessons at Revival, Drum Shop, and Trade Up Music.
So are you teaching drums at PCC?
No,
What are you teaching specifically?
I teach like a rhythmic theory class.
Okay.
A rhythm training.
All right.
And I also teach Ableton classes.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, and I teach beat making lessons as well.
I think that is so cool. Like, I have a couple other friends. I don't know if you know Alex Meltzer.
Not personally, but I've heard his work a lot. He's amazing.
I just have like a lot of friends that are getting into this this era where they're teaching like Ableton classes, and I think that is so cool that is just like a part of the zeitgeist of teaching music at this point. You know? Like, electronic music seems like it has come far enough where it is actually implemented into music curriculum at this point, and I think that is so cool.
Yeah, I totally agree, and that's why I wanted to do that as well. Like, I feel really lucky, again, that my friend was so ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that was like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And like you said, there was not that much, like, especially when it comes to like curriculum or lessons.
Yeah.
As far as working with like beat making technology. But it's interesting because it's a lot like, studio technology too. I feel like they've kind of come together in a way where it doesn't even necessarily have to be electronic music necessarily, but we can all use a laptop. We can use electronics.
Yeah.
We can use something like Ableton to create or record or augment whatever music you want to do.
You also just like don't need some groundbreaking laptop to be able to like have that type of stuff on your computer now.
No, I mean, and that's another amazing thing about teaching is like, a lot of times we'll talk about concepts and stuff. And then I'm like, okay, let's take these concepts and just use them to make something cool. Yeah. However you want. And people will bring in just some amazing music. I'm like, how did you do that?
You're learning from them.
Yeah. And they'll be like, I just, I made it on my phone on the bus ride over here. Because they'll like have some app on a phone. I mean, or like GarageBand on their phone or some sampler. Dude. You're like, I sampled like some people coming on the bus, and then I made a beat out of that, and that's what this is.
I recently went on a plane ride with Meltzer, and he was using that Koala software. And he's just sitting there. He's like, I just made 4 beats on this flight, and I'm just like, dude, that's crazy.
Yeah, I think it's really amazing, and it's a great way for music to be democratized too, because it's not expensive, and it doesn't have to be elitist, you know?
He was like, this app is $5.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah, just get a phone. And more and more every day, like, field recordings and stuff. Like the microphones on a phone are good enough that you can make like quality field recordings, at least good enough that you could like make a beat out of it or something.
Yeah, no doubt.
Which is super cool and great.
Yeah.
I remember I saw like this interview with Madlib, the hip hop producer. Yeah. He was like somewhere in Europe at like a really fancy music school, and it was an amazing, very, very Madlib interview because he was high as fuck. But like, when is he not?
Yeah.
But like, also he was just there was like a little bit of tension because he was just talking about his process, which is literally just hole up in a hotel somewhere or wherever.
Yeah.
And like a 303, just a sampler and a record player and some headphones and a lot of weed. And I get that. He's like, that's how I do it. And like, they were just kind of shocked that he preferred that over like some high-end studio or something like that.
Yeah. It's not everybody's means of creating.
And like it makes you wonder, like, would it sound the same if like Madlib was like, okay, now that I can afford it, let's get in this giant crazy studio and let's just like polish this till it's perfect and then get all Brian Wilson about it.
Yeah.
Like, what would that sound like, and would it work?
It probably would take away from the feel of like what he does a little bit, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'd still be interested to hear.
Yeah.
You never really know. But I mean, at the same time, because especially me, like I was never like super poor or anything, but I never had any like, my parents were always very supportive, but they were always kind of like, we support you, we're just not going to finance your career. Yeah. Which is fine. But like, for me, I'm just always like, okay, how can we do this as cheaply as possible? And so anytime I see somebody who's able to do something like that, and you obviously see this a lot, especially in like early hip hop, like the way RZA worked on like those early Wu-Tang albums. It's just like, dude, you don't need that much. It's if you're creative enough and have enough drive and you work your butt off, you can do all kinds of amazing stuff.
For sure. And sometimes those limitations maybe produce something even greater because you're just kind of like, you're forced to work with what you have and really learn how those things work, like just how to optimize a limited amount of gear, the space,
Yeah, I totally agree. Which I kind of makes me worry sometimes about the way things are going now, where like, you'll get like some. Well, the consumerism is such a huge part of like, I feel, like making music in America is like, you need this thing. We're always like, you need this box, you need that, you need this, and like all these new bits of software and how everything's always getting updated, and in order for it to work, you need the new computer, or otherwise it'll crash. And it's like there's a lot of pressure to always be getting more and more stuff and more samples and more synthesizers and just more and more. And then it's kind of it makes me worry for myself of just like, do I lose focus? Yeah. In those kinds of situations where I feel like I want all of this stuff and this new shiny thing and it sounds so cool. Yeah. And I need to incorporate it, and then but like you said, does it maybe all of these new options that are readily available, maybe they the pitfall might be that it makes it so it's harder to have focused and find a voice. Yeah, maybe
it's the I don't know. I guess it depends on who you are, but it's like it's kind of the that Netflix like streaming effect where you just like all of the options are in front of you and you just like, you're like, what if I find something better? Like you just keep cycling for hours instead of actually just like picking the shit or making the shit. Yeah.
Yeah, and intentionally, like, or maybe not even intentionally, but just having some dirt or some weaknesses something that you're not like particularly good at.
Yeah.
But it's your voice. And there's so many things where, somebody's artistic voice came from them trying to do something and failing at the thing they tried to do, but they ended up doing this other thing,
Yeah, for sure. It's like the person that picks up an instrument that doesn't have all of the knowledge or the music theory behind them, maybe like create something a little more interesting because they're doing it wrong almost.
Yes.
Like something that someone well practiced would never maybe stumble upon.
Yes. And that is something I learned, especially from coming to Portland, because, again, when I was in school, it was all about everything being polished and being as technically precise as you can and being able to play anything. You need me to play some Frank Sinatra? Here you go.
Yeah.
You need me to play some like 60s funk? Here you go. I can play like a cynical, generic version of whatever you want so that I can get paid, which is a good skill to have. That's like how you can be a working musician. It's just like, yeah, sure, whatever you need. But then if you want to have a singular voice, then what is it? If you're if you're taught to just be good at everything,
Yeah.
and then it's kind of hard to have that. And so when I came to Portland, I really just moved here on a lark, and I just wanted to like go somewhere different.
Yeah.
And I toured through here before and really liked it and thought it was weird and cool and all the stuff that Portland is,
What year did you come here?
2007.
Okay.
And so it was a scraggly, weirdo, funky little town. Still is, but like more so back then.
It was a little
then.
more gritty at that point, I would
Yeah.
assume. I mean, I visited here maybe I don't know. I guess I visited here around that time, but I didn't move here till 2013, but still kind of caught the tail end of, the dream that Portland was of like being this kind of like gritty, cheap city
Gritty and
to
cheap.
live in.
Yeah. It was cheap, but it was also like, because I talked to some bands when I was still living in Phoenix and just like, hey, that were from Portland. I was like, so Portland seems really, really cool. And they're like, yeah, it's cool. It's just like, there's not much money. It's hard to like find work. And so it's this funny thing where, is gritty and cheap, but it was also like harder to make any money.
Yes.
So it's similar kind of vibes, but maybe on a different end of the spectrum, perhaps. But honestly, it was great for me. Like I couldn't have asked for anything better because I just rolled in with a cat and a laptop and some drums and just started playing with as many people as I possibly could. And I just met a lot of people who had a totally different approach to music than what I'd seen in school, which was really refreshing. Kind of to your point where like a lot of times I'd be playing with people, I'm like, and I would meet them and I'm like, wow, they sound amazing. Or I'd go see somebody play.
Yeah.
And like, they sound amazing. Oh, if I could just like hang out with them and maybe jam with them or play with them or whatever and get to play with them. And their approach a lot of times was really different than what I was used to, because sometimes they wouldn't even quite understand the theory of what they were playing. Like, okay, this is like a sharp 9 chord or what. Like, they didn't think that way.
Yeah.
They were just like, this sounds cool when I do that thing. And so they wouldn't get too hung up on theory stuff.
Yeah.
And so, and I'm not saying one is better than the other because everybody's got their own path, but it was just different from like a school setting where everything is analyzed.
Yeah.
Everything's analyzed. Everything's written down.
Yeah.
Everything is known.
Yep.
And like, if not, then that's kind of a problem.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that helps with is being able to maybe like play with precision and being able to like just sit in, like what I was saying, like being able to sit in with whomever.
Yeah.
And I think for me, like as a side person, when I came in, like as a drummer especially, I could just kind of sit in with whoever, and they wouldn't have to worry about the theory. So like a lot of times I'd be playing with like a singer-songwriter or something, and they'd be using like some really sophisticated like time signature changes or something like that, or you know, all kinds of different things that for me to play along with them, I'd have to kind of understand what they're doing, but they didn't.
Yeah.
Because they created the thing, so it wasn't their job to analyze. And in fact, it's almost like those are two separate things.
Yeah.
Like creating and analyzing the thing. Because if you're too analytical, I feel like it's a little hard to think creatively at the same time.
Yeah, it can kind of get in the way in some regard.
Yeah. And so I don't know. I've met a lot more people who have that artistic way of viewing music, of like what's the vibe, what's the feel that we want, as opposed to like, you know, what's the chord progression, or it's a lot less analysis and much more feel.
Yeah.
Which I think was really good for me, especially coming out of jazz school. But it took me some time to get used to it and working in that kind of setting.
Yeah. But going back to like what you were talking about in the beginning about being in school, the rigidness of that definitely like stripped away the joy a little bit, and like you starting to make electronic music kind of on your own, that was like a bit of a saving grace for you.
Yeah, definitely.
Or at least balanced out like maybe some of the feelings that you were having about being a little bogged down and from the school.
Yeah, it definitely did. I and also like I'm just not a good student, to be honest. Like I get distracted, you know, I lose focus. If I'm not super into something, I get all mad that I'm being made to learn it, you know, and which is a problem in and of itself.
Yeah.
But it's just like having something outside of that was great. I mean, and again, like to me, if you're going into music, you should really love it. You know, like it seems like a given. But like I've been playing and been around musicians since I was like a little kid, and so a lot of I would be around like older working musicians. A lot of times they'd have this deep cynicism and angst or just grumpiness.
Yeah.
That where they weren't getting to do the thing that they wanted to do, you know, and so like. For me, it's being like a working musician's, you know, you have to put food on the table, especially if you have a family and that sort of thing. But, and, you know, the starting to make beats and start to like compose using like software and stuff like that gave me a chance to just do whatever I wanted and not have to do it for money.
Yeah.
You know? And so I think like, and that's what I tell students a lot of times too, is just like, you know, do whatever you need to do to get food on the table. And if you can do that playing your music, that's awesome. It's even better. But at the same time, like also have something that when somebody's like, what's your music? What is your thing that you can point at and be like, that's my music. That's what my sound is. And you can be proud of it and stoked about it, and it has nothing to do with money. You could do it at a complete loss, but it's still that thing that you can point to and just be like, this is my music, because that just makes the whole thing worth it. I feel like that's what we're all wanting to do, or at least that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
You know, I loved, and I still love doing like freelance work. I love like sitting in on weird gigs. I've sat in on all kinds of strange gigs, which is fun and cool. But it's, especially when you are having to do that to make rent. And you are like, I will play any music you want so that I can eat.
Yeah.
You know, that becomes a real slog unless you're making good money. And like, because especially when you're younger and you're first coming up, it's a really good education.
Yeah.
And a great way to just learn and meet new people. But after a while, and again, speaking just for myself, it became a thing where I was losing that thing that made me want to do music in the first place. And so if music is becoming a job that you just like have to do, then you might as well like do another crappy job that pays better, that has like some security to it or something.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was freeing for me because, and this is a long time ago. I just made like a small EP in my crappy little apartment and just recorded a bunch of kind of 9 Inch Nails-ish wannabe, because like listening to a lot of 9 Inch Nails and Square Pusher and Aphex Twin, and that's when I was like, oh, like especially with Square Pusher, because I was like, oh, you can like combine like jazz and electronic music in this really interesting way, or you can combine like hip hop and jazz, or all these different ways. Like to me is like using electronic music. I could kind of just take all of the disparate and kind of just scatterbrain bits of music that I love and just kind of try and combine them into something at least hopefully somewhat cohesive. And so that was kind of what was cool about it. And yeah, I started doing that. I put out an EP, put it on the internet, and a guy, Ryan Cross from Portland, who actually passed away not too long ago, but he was in this band, Eretsu.
Okay.
And he was like, hey, I really like your music. If you're ever touring through Portland, hit me up. We'll play a show. And I was like, touring, huh? Interesting. I didn't know like normal people could tour. Because that was another kind of thing about school, was just like I felt like part of the curriculum was, we realize you have these dreams.
Yeah.
But they will be crushed.
Yes.
And so once they are crushed, here's what you can do to survive while being a musician, which again is not a bad thing particularly. I get where that's coming from, because it is a very difficult way to make a living. But you shouldn't just assume the dreams are going to be crushed, right?
Yeah,
I feel like that was just like, okay, you don't follow your dreams. So like that's like step one.
You will be disappointed.
Yes, your dreams are just that. They are dreams, and they are never going to be materialized.
Yeah.
So you should just learn to be able to play anything anybody wants you and do all these things that you can make money with. And again, a great skill, but like it was just nice to like, wow, what, could I tour?
Yeah.
Could I just like take my crappy car up the West Coast? And I did, and it was amazing. Like it was, I played in all these weird little venues. I wasn't even sure it was going to happen, because like I had my dad's crappy laptop. He gave it to me because it didn't really work anymore.
Yeah.
And so I put Reason on there, and the laptop would just like die just randomly sometimes. And so my first show doing like the basic like structure of what I do now is like solo project using synths, drums. I sang and I used Reason, and I called it Step Kid. And it was a lot more angsty back then. Again, I was like a lot of screaming and this kind of stuff, and a lot of like just I'm free from jazz school, so now I can say fuck into a mic.
Some of that 9 Inch Nails energy.
Yes, and just desperately trying to get a little bit of that Reznor zhuzh.
Yeah.
But the first time I did it was in a weird bowling alley venue in LA.
Okay.
And for this like tour that I planned, thanks to Ryan from Iretsu at the time, like encouraging me.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, oh, and then that, like, I can book shows in California. Okay. But then I just remember like driving. I was like, I hope this works. Because like I'd never done it.
And you're doing it solo, right?
Yeah,
like,
totally
you don't,
solo.
You don't have like another person to like.
Well, my friend Jaime came with me.
Okay.
So like he was kind of like my tech guy.
He was just down for the trip.
Went with me, helped out, helped me stay somewhat sane. Because if it was just like 100% alone, it would have been really stressful.
Yeah.
I didn't know
Yeah.
what the hell I was doing,
Yeah.
like at all.
Yeah.
And my laptop died the first gig, just like, which was, you know, it was, it wasn't the first time, or it wasn't the last time, that's for sure. But I mean, with everything that happened, that tour was like amazing. It was just like a week-long tour from LA up to Portland, and it was just like the most fun I'd had in years. And I was like, this is awesome. And so that's when I was just kind of like, I don't know if school's for me. Like, because I go back into school and I just did not want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
Because I was like, why can't I just do the thing that I want to do
right
now? And so that's when I left and dropped out of school. And I was living in Phoenix and teaching drum lessons and gigging and stuff like that. But I kind of just need to get out of Phoenix too.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I just packed up and moved to Portland for no real reason. I just had no prospects, nothing. I didn't really know anybody. I maybe like kind of knew one or two people, and it was very scary, but also really thrilling. And honestly, Portland was just like the best place you could have possibly hoped to move to as a musician, for me at least. Like, I mean, all I did, because I had no money, I was broke and I had nothing, but all I did every night was just go out somewhere and play music.
Yeah.
Like, there's jam sessions everywhere. There were bands you'd go see. There's just always something to do. And so, you know, it was like I was super broke and hustling all the time, but like it was also like thrilling and cool and vibrant.
Yeah.
In a way that like was really encouraging to me.
So was Small Skies your second like iteration of the electronic music project, like after the Step Kid stuff, or was there some stuff in between? Because is it like it's 2014 that you put out that self-titled Small Skies collection of tunes?
Yeah. So I think like I was kind of getting done with, because the Step Kid was just the name is already kind of like, I have angst and I'm a redheaded step kid, get it? So angry. And it was just kind of like I gotten to the point where I had like lots of musical friends in town and the music was changing. I didn't, because Step Kid, like that stuff started as very, like, very much about me like getting stuff off my chest and like, you know, writing angry poetry, you know, stereotypical young person type music, and like
kind of more vocal driven too.
And like screaming into the mic type stuff, you know, and just like cursing on stage a whole bunch. Just like I felt like I had all this stuff pent up, and it was just like like just letting it all out. And so like I was getting to this point where like that was not what I was feeling anymore. And so I just wanted something. I was starting to feel more like uplifting music, like fun and still like kind of raw and energetic and emotional, but not so much like, you know, completely from like a dark place or anything like that. And plus, like, you know, I was starting to play with lots of other people in other bands. And so I was like, this like isn't really like Step Kid anymore. And so that's where Small Skies came from. And originally it was started as a band, and it was awesome. It was cool, and everybody was great in it. But that was the first time I was like a band leader, which
Yeah.
was a whole other thing.
Yeah.
Which is stressful in a way. Because like that's when, for me, it's easy to direct myself because I'm like really hard on myself musically. I'm just like, it's not good enough. So you need to just get back and make it better.
Yeah.
And so, but when you're working with other people, you don't want to be a jerk,
Right.
you know, like I don't want to be a jerk. And plus I'm not really paying, nobody's really getting any money other than what we get from gigs. And I'm trying to treat everybody right and everything like that. And everybody was great, but it was just that type of thing where like, I for the first time understood why, you know, people would like freak out on somebody at a show or something like that, because it's like, this is my baby, you know. And so like I loved everybody that I played with in that band. It was super cool, but it was just kind of changing. Everybody's super busy, you know, like one of the original members ended up moving away. Another member ended up playing in Horse Feathers, which I'm like, yeah, go play with Horse Feathers. Like, I can't fault you for that, you know? And so like people come and go and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was interesting. It was cool, but it definitely was a different thing. And so it's kind of just turned into this like changing thing.
But always just you making the recorded music, or were there other people that participated in some of the recording?
As far as the parts people would play like in the first two albums there were other people.
So it's not
playing.
just you making those.
Yeah, and in
records.
fact,
Okay.
like they would. I never really necessarily. Well, sometimes I would be like, okay, could you play this part?
Yeah.
But a lot of times, I would maybe even have a hard time finishing a song or something.
So you were
that.
like looking for some creative input elsewhere. You weren't like just trying to be the person that was making everything and writing everything. And
No, it was kind of like I would usually write the structure of a song or something like that, and then you're like, okay, so what do you want to do in this or something like that, and then different people would maybe want more or less input.
Yeah,
because sometimes somebody would be like, well, what do you want me to play, and then be like, okay, well, here's a part.
Yeah,
but then some people would come in with just, you know, amazing ideas that you just need to kind of get out of the way of.
Yeah.
And just like, okay, that's awesome. Very cool. And you made the song better now.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like, I don't, you know, and I never wanted to, like, let ego become something that, like, gets in the way of, like, good music and friendship, you know. It's like, this is my thing, so you can't do this or you can't do that.
Yeah.
I understand it because, again, it's like when your music is your little baby, it's easy to get defensive.
For sure.
But I really like collaborating with people too, and I need that as well. Like I think you know, I definitely have like strengths and weaknesses as far as music goes, like anybody does, I guess. But like you know, especially just like studio stuff, like you were mentioning about like jazz music and how it's so much a live kind of situation where like I think my ears and like the way my brain works has been kind of tuned into that of like making live shows work as best they can.
Yeah.
And so I feel like sometimes in the studio I'll just be like, I think it sounds fine. And somebody else will be like, are you sure it sounds good? It's like, I think it's fine. Like, what else are we supposed to do? Because, I mean, dude, if you listen to old jazz albums, you know, these are like iconic Miles Davis albums. He just like honks out a wrong note.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. You know?
It's kind of what makes it special.
Yeah, you know, and so like I think that's part of it for me is I don't want to like over polish, but at the same time, and this is what's been great about hanging out with Small Million, because Ryan in Small Million, he is a total studio. He has studio ears.
He's a visionary.
Yes, and very much like he'll give me like an A and a B to listen to. Like, oh, what do you think about A versus B? And I'm like, they sound exactly the same to me. I don't hear any difference. It's like, I just
that's the shit though. You just get so caught up in that. I can do that even podcast editing where I'm like listening to, you know, maybe a different filter on the mic, and it's just like, oh, which one of these sounds better? And it's like no one's going to notice which one sounds better.
I mean, there is that side of it, but at the same time, it makes a big difference. Like when, and maybe that's why I like to collaborate too, because like, because then you can kind of check each other's like weaknesses, for lack of a better word, or just help each other out with stuff like that. And it can be kind of fraught because, you know, especially in those instances where, you know, when I was working on the second Small Skies album, I was working on it with this guy, Brock Grenfell, who was in the band I was in at the time, Gold Casio. Yeah.
That was the first time I met you, was a Gold Casio show.
Oh, yeah. Sure. Those were some shows.
They were fun.
Yes, they were definitely. That's like, that tapped into those, like, that fun show vibe. Those Gold Casio shows were crazy.
Yeah.
But Brock was very much about, we are going to work on this until it's good. Very, 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 very good. And so, like, I was like, oh, I mean, and I'd heard some of the stuff that he worked on with some other bands in town, like Fringe Class at the time. And it sounded great, and he does really great work. And so, you know, I asked him if he'd help produce and record the album for me. And he did. And, like, it was awesome. But it was just, he's so the opposite of me. And the big one is he works very slowly. And I'm very impatient. And again, I think it's that jazz thing where, like, I don't even want to listen to something that we just did.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just like, let's just.
You definitely don't want to hear like 20 takes of it.
I feel like after maybe a few listens, I lose focus and I can't tell anymore.
Yeah.
I don't have that. Whereas Brock very much has that. And sometimes not necessarily arguments, but maybe heated discussions where he'd be like, it should be like this. And I'm like, we don't need that. I don't think it should be like that. And he's like, I really think we should. We're going to put it in. I'm like, what are you doing? And so, but it was interesting because I was like, on the one hand, I'm like, why are you pushing so hard? But on the other, it's like because he cared enough about my music that he's helping me to make. And so we got this kind of like flow going where it was intense to work with him on it, but it was also like he took it to this whole other level that I was not capable of doing. And so he brought in this big, huge sound to the album, and I learned a lot about recording from him. And so, you know, even when I'm doing like solo stuff, I feel like maybe from then on, but even before that, like I learned that if I want it to really sound good, I can't just do it myself.
Yeah.
You know, I need somebody who has that ability to really work well in a studio, because I don't necessarily have that part of my brain. You know, I'm always learning, and I have, you know, I have a studio. I like to do it all, but like just that thing where you sit and listen over and over and over again, and you can still kind of parse things out.
Yeah.
That's really, really cool. So like Brock Ryan from Small Million, Nuri from Ghost Feet, like people like that, I always try and like, you know, keep close.
Yeah.
So they're gonna be like, can you like listen to this for me? Because, you know, it sounds fine to me. And I think that's what, like, in a live setting, that's really helpful and that's what I've always been good at, is like taking somebody who is a perfectionist and maybe just being like, okay, for this live show, let's just do this and it will work. It'll be fine. And we'll get through the show and it'll be awesome. That's how I always like to think. It's just like, no, it's good. It's fine. Just like, don't worry.
Yeah.
Because we need to play like right now.
Right.
You know, so
You
if
can't be too far in your head, and
Yeah.
like whatever happens. There's no doing another take or correcting.
no other takes, and like just embrace whatever happens.
But in the studio, you could use that somebody else that's a little more removed, especially if you're like making the thing on your own.
Yeah.
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 So tell me about current times, Ben. You when this comes out, you'll have a new EP out called Slow Down Songs.
Mm-hmm.
And it leans a little more ambient than music you've made in the past. So what sparked that approach to things and this new EP?
Yeah, it is interesting because, you know, I've always been a drummer since I was a little kid.
Yeah.
And I think that I always just had this kind of lack of patience, and I just want it to go, and I want there to be a beat, and I want there to be lots of energy, and I want it to just make people go crazy, you know? And I think part of it was like, you know, I was kind of going through some like mental health stuff where, you know, I have this thing where if I feel like I'm stagnating, or if things aren't going exactly the way I'd like to go, if I just keep working, keep playing, keep pushing, and go, and keep running, and maybe running away from something, that like, you know, things will get better.
Relatable.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody can relate to that, but like, and at one point it was just this thing where I was becoming exhausted from just trying to keep that kind of thing going, of just like, just more energy, more stuff. So like, part of it was just me trying to like take a bit of a step back and think about music a little bit differently, and to just make music from another part of my brain, I guess.
Yeah.
And like, and also I wanted to play more piano and synthesizers. So I got like an 88 key keyboard, because I mean, when I was in I learned to play piano in school, which was traumatizing because it was insanely hard and I was no good, and everybody, like all the professors were like brutal. But I learned how to play decently, but I hadn't really played it at all in a long time. And so I just was like, I would like to start playing a piano, just to do that. And also, at the time, like I was playing drums for Small Million and Ghost Feet. and both bands, Ghost Feet isn't around anymore, but when I was playing with them, when all this started to kind of germinate, we were playing lots of shows all the time, and so I was drumming like a lot, which was great, and it was nice to just play drums again because I hadn't done that in a while.
And in something that you weren't necessarily like the main composer for.
Exactly.
You're just showing up and playing drums.
Yeah, and I could just focus on drumming, which felt great. And so I guess maybe that gave me a little bit of space to like think about, just, and what I would do is I'd just sit at night with this piano and just play. And so that started to kind of just become this thing where I was, listening to a lot more ambient music. It was kind of like a late night kind of a thing where I was just like in my house late at night, and the music I was listening to, the music I was like playing was all just kind of starting to somewhat naturally kind of come down in tempo and just be a little bit different. And so that's kind of where it came from, and just I wanted to make music that was calming, because I needed that in my life.
That's interesting that's like the time it came out, you know? Because it's kind of like undeniable in that way of like listening to the music. Like, it's just so nice to, whether I'm listening to it like really intentionally or I'm listening to it in the background, it is undeniably this calming thing. You know?
Yeah.
And it's beautiful in that way. And it's interesting that, you said you're not like always a very patient person, especially like when you're making music. So what did this require from you patience wise to make something that kind of like really slowly develops, and you're like really sitting in these spaces for like long amounts of time before there's any like subtle changes?
I think it was a lack of deadlines or goals. Like specific, because, again, I was in these two bands that were quite busy. And so like Small Skies was not playing any shows. I wasn't, and I honestly was just like, I don't think I can keep doing this version of Small Skies too, because like, just physically I would be playing drums and a keyboard and singing and trying to manipulate samples and like my monitoring, not to get too like wonky about it, but like I would just have a giant PA speaker blasting in my face so that I could hear everything. And so like it was physically taxing on me and my ears, and just like feeling like I just ran a marathon after every show. But also like it was the type of thing where I just was like, I need a break from at least shows. And so I don't know if I'm going to do Small Skies again. And for a long time, I didn't really know.
Because it's been 5 years since you
it's been a while.
Music.
And so it took that of just like, okay, there aren't going to be any more shows. There might not even, this might be something else. We might call it something else. I don't know. It can be whatever it is. And so, I've been more or less just kind of playing music, because I always, even if I don't have like, some upcoming gigs or anything, I always just like kind of tinker in the studios and stuff, in my studio. And so just kind of sitting in a quiet space and just, and again, with a piano and like getting into, voicings and intervals and all of those things that is really fun to explore on a keyboard or a synthesizer.
Yeah.
Where it's just more textural and colors and things like that, and there doesn't even necessarily have to be a beat to it. And so like at one point I was just like, I'm gonna like try and make an ambient song. Let's see what happens. It's just like, and I would try to do something and it just didn't quite work. And it just would sound, I don't know, off. And there's this one point where I was working with Ableton and I just like turned the tempo down like all the way and to like 40 BPM or something, and just had like a simple kind of drum machine kind of loop going, and it kind of just unlocked whatever was there. It just unlocked it. It was just like, okay, yeah. So, because I'd never done anything under like 80 BPM. Just the idea of just being like, let's slow down, like really slow. And then just all of this new stuff kind of started to come out of me. And then I was just like, and then like one of the songs off the EP just kind of just happened, which sometimes happens to me, where like a song just kind of writes itself.
Yeah.
But that happened at where I was just like, let's try something at 40 BPM. And I just hooked up a synthesizer, and the song just happened. I was like, whoa, that's cool. And then I was like, what if we just like turn the metronome off and like not worry about the beat, which my drummer brain was like, no. But I was like, just turn it off and like just record me making a bunch of sounds with a synthesizer or a piano or whatever. And like all of that like was over the course of years, really, of just kind of tinkering in between gigs and stuff like that. And that's really where it came from. And just, it's not that I was like, I didn't have any goals or, drive or anything like that. But I think before, when Small Skies was gigging a lot, I would really lean into that like go mentality of just like, okay, well, like I have goals.
Yeah.
And so I want to meet those goals. And so let's set a deadline. Let's make a show, and we need to have this ready by that show.
Right.
And which is helpful to get stuff done. Like if you're not, I always tell students, if you're like not playing, if nothing is happening, just book a show you're totally unprepared for and see how fast.
You'll probably have to kick it into gear a little bit.
See how fast you can just like turn into this whole new person who's just like, okay, let's practice like every night this week, but I'd been doing that for such a long time that it and I, again, like Ghost Feet and Small Million both were like playing a lot. Like Small Million had just gotten signed to Tender Loving Empire, and so there's already like a lot of that stuff. So now Small Million or Small Skies, that happens. Small Skies turned into this thing where it was like my reprieve of just like, okay, I'm just gonna like chill out.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if it's Small Skies anymore. I don't know what this is, but this is just me like playing some calming music.
No end game.
No end game.
In sight, just kind of doing the thing and exploring.
Yeah, and there doesn't have to be any meaning to it.
Yeah.
This doesn't have to have a name.
Yeah.
And it became like an experiment with taking stuff out, because I would always just want to pile in and add more stuff.
But this is like about creating the space.
Yeah.
So much of it.
Exactly. And which was really exciting in a way, because I'd never thought about music that way.
Yeah.
Just like, we don't have to do this thing. Just like sit with this instrument, with a synthesizer, with a piano, with a sampler, and just have fun making music.
Yeah.
And like at some point it might turn into something, or maybe not. But and I think that is where all of that kind of more ambient music started to come from, is just that way of thinking about it. And I would start to show it to some people, because I always, like, my wife, for example, is like kind of the first person I always like kind of like, is this like any good, or 'cause I don't know, I'm just like having fun at night, and it's like, what is this thing that I made? And I'd get like a lot of like puzzled but like positive feedback from people. Just kind of like, oh, I didn't know you had that kind of music inside you, which is good, because I mean that, like, I feel like that's always a good thing. That's the same thing that people said to me when I started doing like Step Kid. Back in jazz school, they're like, damn, man, I didn't know you had that in you, And so to me, that's a good sign of just like, okay, it's a new, like some kind of new chapter or something like that I'm excited about, that I like doing. And people are like, huh, that's kind of interesting that you would make music like this.
And it still exists under that like electronic music umbrella that you kind of started Small Skies under. Like, even it's funny, like listening back to the catalog yesterday, there's this Looking In track on the self-titled record, and that I feel like is kind of derivative of like, it's got a little bit of that ambient feel of what this new EP is. So it feels like, there are glimpses of it, but
I would agree with that.
You're like fully leaning into it, and seems like it must have just been like a very different process when you're like slowing things down to that sort of tempo and finding new ways to go about things,
Yeah, and like I agree, because when the EP get like, some of it, it took some time to really finish, but it did kind of just like happen. And so I was like, oh, all right, so this music came out of me, huh? But then, like you said, I listened back and I was just like, well, there were glimpses, like it's not like I wasn't into ambient music and now I am. There was always like mixed in, textural elements and ambient parts and colors and synthesizers and stuff like that. But I think I always felt like I had to lean on my drums too, because I'm a drummer. And and people are like,
you weren't going to abandon that.
Yes, you play drums, Ben.
Yeah.
And so for me to really just not have any drums, that was, I think, or at least not really think about them, because there's like a tiny little bit. A little tiny bit of like just a drum machine in the EP, but a little, and not very much. And it's not really like the focal point that it had been up until this point. And even when, I'm not like playing acoustic drums, I would make beats and they'd be like big, fat, heavy, like hip hop tinged kind of beats,
something that's really gonna hit.
Which I still love doing that stuff. And I don't know if I'm, how where things are gonna go from here, to be honest, because I still love, drumming and making beats and all that stuff. But I think that's been the big kind of difference. It's just like the focal point now has been a piano and a synthesizer. Like, I got this because I don't like have I only have a couple synthesizers. Like, that was another thing that kind of blew my mind when I first moved to Portland, is like real synthesizers, like old wonky strange like Juno 60 80s era synthesizers. And I was like, I didn't know these still like existed. And it's like, oh, this is an analog synth. What does that mean? You know, that kind of stuff. And so I always kind of thought they were somewhat intimidating. But like just, you know, I got a Prophet Rev 2 16 voice synthesizer a while back. And it just was so like, the sound, it had such a deep sound to it and so rich.
Yeah.
And you just kind of get mesmerized by it. And so that's just been super fun, getting into that. And I shared it with Jared, the label head at TLE.
Yeah.
And he was super supportive about it. He's just like, oh, this is really, really cool. And ended up getting me a gig at the art museum.
Oh, hell yeah.
So it was just like,
Yeah.
okay, so like, I get like, there's no way. Well, I don't know, because there are all kinds of amazing musicians. It was like the opening of the new Rothko Pavilion, but I think like the fact that it was like this kind of ambient music. He was just like, oh, that would work well for an art museum.
Absolutely.
And it was awesome. It was super cool. It was also deeply scary and intimidating for me.
What was your setup for that?
It was Yamaha digital piano.
Okay.
And my Prophet Rev 2 synth and Ableton Push 2.
So, a lot less stressful than your, you know,
Yeah.
the other setups for when you were doing Small Skies with the drum set and the vocal and the synth and
a lot. Well, it was a lot less stressful in that like I wasn't doing 10 things at the same time. I was doing like 3, because I'd be like live looping some of the synth stuff and that type of thing.
Is there, when you're playing like this more ambient style music, is there somehow like more freedom in it for you at all, of like where something can go? And
yeah, definitely that's, I think, another thing that's really kind of exciting, and maybe why Small Skies needed the change that it got, is because I think it was starting to become too like calcified and rote and just, this is the way it works, and so we're just going to keep doing this type of thing. Like the art museum gig, you know, it was like maybe half improvise, half just like, this is the song. And it was, it's super cool. Like, especially if you have an instrument that sounds just really beautiful.
Yeah.
And you can just kind of tinker on it and like get inspired in real time playing on it. All kinds of ideas start to light up. And yeah, it was freeing. It just took me some time to like get confident with it, because I think there's something about drums, and every time I'd played Small Skies, I'd just have like this big fortress of gear in front of me.
it's like a shield.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
your armor
And I'm
from
sitting
the crowd.
behind it, you know, and so like just standing up and just, because parts of it were just piano too, or just synthesizer, like one voice.
Yeah.
And so in that sense, it almost felt a little intimidating, but in a good way.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's also good because, you know, like I was saying, if you kind of keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, at least for me, that's another one of those things that can lead you to kind of just be like cynical and kind of grumpy and just like, oh, and just doing this thing again.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm doing something that's kind of scary, then that means I'm doing something that is new and exciting, and I care enough to be scared.
Probably something that you just like can't float through as well.
Yeah.
You know, you can't really go on autopilot as much when you've got a little bit of that scared energy in you. You know?
Yeah. And which is, it's fun. It's fun when it goes well.
Yeah.
You know? When it doesn't, it just adds to the fear. But, you know, the bad shows happen.
Yeah.
You know, we all
Yeah.
have them. That's okay.
Yeah. I really like the aspect of this music being very much like meditation music. You know, it's like really nice to kind of wake up to, or like you were talking about making this music at night, and it's kind of nice to just like sit with, or, you know, sit in headphones with it and close your eyes. I feel like it can like, it is definitely calming music, as you mentioned. And I'm curious if you felt like there was some level of meditation happening for you, like while you were making it, or was it simply just it feeling like it was a calming exercise?
Well, honestly, so like when I was having some mental health issues, it wasn't anything too crazy. It was just like kind of in America in the 2020s kind of anxiety type stuff, you know?
Trying to do a billion things to run away.
Exactly.
Yeah, I
just
feel
trying to run away from my problems, you know?
Yeah.
Well, my wife is a mental health therapist.
Okay.
And so that means free therapy.
Hey.
Honestly, like, you know, it was just me talking to her about issues and stuff. And so she taught me about the idea of mindfulness and what that actually means, of being able to like kind of take a step out of your thoughts and not letting your scatter brain kind of just twirl you around in circles over and over again. And like just being able to take a step back and detach from your thoughts a little bit, so that you're not like completely a prisoner to them all the time. Because everybody has like intrusive thoughts, stressful thoughts, anxious thoughts, all of that sort of stuff. And so she would talk to me, because that's what would happen. It's just like, you know, I have a really active imagination. I'm always thinking about something. I always want to do something. But then it would just start to become too much.
Yeah.
And that would become a problem for me. And so talking to her about it. And so I actually did start meditating, not to be too stereotypical about it, because it's kind of like a thing, I guess. Not that I care, I don't care, but like it's I just would just sit and just let my thoughts flow and just try and meditate. And actually it has really helped. And I honestly think that's been a big part of this kind of music starting to come out of me.
Yeah.
It's just sitting, and because I started meditating regularly because it just helped. And I'm not like, you know, some kind of evangelist of any kind, because everybody can do whatever they want to do. Everybody's different. But just for me and my loud brain, it helped quite a bit. And so it's funny you mentioned that, because that's like exactly what was happening at the same time. I was really getting into, you know, trying to practice mindfulness and actively meditating. Not anything crazy, but just like, you know, 10 minutes here or there of just like sitting and like listening to white noise or something, and just letting the thoughts go by and not let them like kind of clench onto me as much. And so that's been helpful in a lot of ways, but it's also kind of affected just my outlook and the way I think about music and lots of other things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've always enjoyed your music, Ben. I selfishly hope that you make more ambient music.
Thank
'cause
you.
I don't know. I think I also am just occasionally could use some of that calming energy, you know, and just.
And there's a lot of great ambient artists in Portland. Like there's, I mean, I feel like, you know, a lot of people are, especially with the way technology is, the internet is, social media is, politics, you name it, it's all designed to make us anxious and make us keep coming back to our machines that are just giving us dopamine hits, but they're kind of like empty at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And making it harder for us to just be mindful and be okay with just like being present.
Yeah.
And so I feel like there is like, I don't know about a need for it, but just like there's a lot of great ambient artists. Like Crystal Cortez was also, she played the art museum with me. She's amazing.
Okay.
Brass Clouds also put out like some ambient music. There's a ton of great stuff just in Portland, but like I don't know, it's the type of thing where I feel like we're gonna need to be more and more aware of our mental health and staying mindfulness and not letting things like social media just pull our brains in one direction and then another direction, and then we have FOMO, and then and it's just like all of this stuff that like leads to just being super anxious.
It's like somehow not real life.
Yeah.
Also, it's just like this other dimension that like.
Yeah.
Just I don't know.
But and I don't know, like because I've been working so hard on kind of just bringing all of this music to life.
Yeah. And
the release show, I'm gonna have my drums. The drums are there. It's gonna be, because I've also written a bunch of like singles that are just like beats, you know, and kind of like electronic music, but there's beats there, and I still want that to be part of the music, but I don't know exactly. And I've been working really hard on just bringing what I already have to life because it's been so long. And so like I've, changed the setup. I've had to change the gear up, think about things differently. So I haven't had a chance necessarily quite yet to just sit down and think about what's next. But I am excited about it, and it'll be interesting to see where it goes from here, because just it's 4 ambient songs that I did for this EP, and there's a bunch of other things I wrote in that vein that are like that. I guess it'll just be the type of thing too where like, just letting the music happen and just see what happens from here. Yeah. Will be kind of fun.
Well, it's a really beautiful listen.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
It's cool that you have seemed to have like breathed some new life into this project that you've been working on for over 10 years now, which is really cool,
Thanks.
Amidst playing in a bunch of cool bands as well,
Yeah.
Small Million is, I'll champion Small Million as one of my all-time favorite Portland bands for sure. They're definitely on that list. Just
love Small Million.
Yeah. Just very cool that you've also just that it seems like it was like a healing thing for you to like make this music during that time,
Mm-hmm.
It's very rad.
Thank you. I that means a lot. And healing is definitely an operative word for this music. I think that's where it comes from, and hopefully what it can be for other people. Because kind of like what I was talking about, that transition from Step Kid to Small Skies in the beginning, of just like going from like getting stuff off my chest to making something that can be more uplifting and that other people can assign their own meaning to, and I don't have to like tell them what this song is or anything like that, but it's just something that you can take and you can assign meaning to it.
Yeah, definitely the beauty of instrumental music in that way. And I think maybe even specifically with ambient music, where you just kind of free to let the music do whatever it's going to do to you.
Yeah.
and bring out whatever it's going to bring out.
It's been interesting kind of exploring that, of just like, letting this music flow. And then even like with naming the song, almost, I'm just like, I mean, like, does it need a name? I mean, like, it's a piece of music that exists.
001, 0.002.
I've thought about like just like track 1, track 2, but like, there's still got to be some vibe in there, right? But I also, and I was talking to Small Million, we were having like a band hang not too long ago, and we were talking about this EP, and I was just like, like the meaning of it, and like assigning meaning, and what this song is about, and that sort of thing. It's been kind of fun and freeing to not think about it, and just because there is meaning in there, like, but it doesn't have to be so cut and dry, right? Like, I think David Lynch is one of my heroes for working in that kind of way of like, he'll make a movie and it's hard to say exactly what it's about, but there is meaning, and part of it is what you bring to it. Like, he would talk about that a lot. It's just like, what do you think? Because everybody would always ask, like, what's your movie about? It's so weird. What is it about? He's like, well, what do you think it's about? Yeah. And then, so that's what it's about. And I always thought that that's like this really interesting approach to like kind of like an artistic version of looking at what is like true and real. And so that's what's been really fun for me, is it kind of exploring meaning in that way. Because it's not that there is a lack of meaning, but it can just be many different meanings to it. And I want the audience and the listeners to be able to put their own meaning. Yeah. Like this is a song I was listening to when this important thing happened in my life, and it like helped me get through it. So that's what it means to you. Yeah. And that's awesome.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, I would definitely encourage people to, take the listen front to back, but I want to play the episode out with Blank Pages, Cold Weather.
Sweet.
It's one of my favorites off the that collection of tunes. And if you're new to the Small Skies music, there's a bunch of music to go back and check out. I'll put all the links in the episode notes so people can keep up with you, Ben. We end every episode of the podcast, Ben, with the guest saying the tagline for the show, which is "It's a program," and it means absolutely nothing. It's just the way that my grandfather says the word program. He always says program.
Program.
So it's the one time I'll ask you to look into that camera there. And,
okay.
If you give us the Small Skies, "It's a program," you can deliver it however you would like to.
Okay. It's a program.
He nailed it, everybody. That's Ben. Small Skies is the music project. Links will be in the episode notes, and we are playing it out with that Blank Pages Cold Weather track off of the new Slow Down Songs EP, and that is the Jelly Jams, and we will catch you on the flip side, Portland, or wherever you are listening from.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you. We did it.
Yeah.
Great job.
Right on. That was fun.
Hell yeah.